Hey guys, in this video we're going to be showing you how to remove and install your main seal on the front, as well as your main seal on the rear. So stay tuned. So the first thing to know is you're going to need some specialty tooling and some steps before getting to the main seal. On the front main, which this one is, you'll have to remove generally your damper assembly. Now this one obviously has been removed already, and if the truck or engine is in chassis, you're going to probably have to remove your fan, the fan blade, or the fan belts, possibly the radiator, to get that off. The rear generally is much harder because in order to get to the rear main, you have to remove the flywheel. In order to remove the flywheel, you're going to have to remove whatever it's driving, which on a truck is a transmission. This is actually a big wood chipper C18 industrial engine. You might be saying, Josh, I have a C15 or I have a 3406E. Will this be the same? Yes, the C18 blocks, main seals, almost everything except the cylinder packs is generally the same as a C15. So the installer removal procedure is going to be the same, but you are going to have to remove whatever it's driving and the flywheel to get to your rear main. What we're going to be using is a Monaco seal installer. They sell theirs as a kit. It's for the 3400 series engine. I think it's right. Yeah, 3400 and C15. Now, if you have a C16 or C18, same one. Only difference would be is if you have a rear PTO or a Repto, that rear main can be different, and you might need a different seal installer for that. But basically, all it is a collar and a pushing device. And before we install it, though, obviously, we need to get the old one off. Now, before we remove them, I'm going to remove the rear first, but there's generally two kinds of different rear mains or front mains. This style, and they're all double lip style seals, but this is a more traditional style, and this one has a wear sleeve or wear ring. So the wear ring, which is this very thin piece of metal right here, slides in with the main seal when you're installing it. It's not to be removed or installed separately from the seal. Also, your new seal, before you install it, make sure it is the correct orientation. Front main is going to show a clockwise rotation. Don't put a clockwise rotation front main in the rear. That's wrong. The other style is similar to the rear one. This is what I like to call a cupped version. And the reason for that is this one does not have a separate wear sleeve. The forward part, or the lower part of the seal itself, is this. This one is kind of the wear sleeve at the same time, and the lip seal is actually inside there. This is the rear, and the rear, there's going to be an arrow. You see it right here. Counterclockwise rotation, because it's a rear. Now, always check your part numbers too to make sure you get the right one. How you remove these ones is slightly different also. Now, if you're removing your rear structure, and you have the other style, like the front one that doesn't have the lipped wear sleeve like this, you can actually slide the front structure off with the seal on and then take the seal off. That's easier. If you're not removing the structure and you have this style, it's easier to remove. So I'm going to be showing you how to remove the seal with the structure in place. On the other one, I'll remove the structure, show you how to remove it, and then we'll install both. Okay, so we're going to remove this one with the structure on, which is harder than with it off. But generally, you're going to be removing it with the structure on. And if you don't know what I mean by with the structure on, the entire housing that holds the seal in. So your first order of business, you might be thinking, is to self-tap this guy and then try to pull it out. You can do that. I've had better luck with these huge end snips. These are, I don't know, about a foot long. Generally, if you can get it behind there, grab it, and sometimes you need to pry it a little bit back. Remember, folks, you're not reusing it ever. If you're taking the structure off, you're gonna pull it off, so Don't worry about damaging the seal. What you don't want to do is damage the sealing face on the crank or on the structure. So don't worry about damaging the seal. This is going to be hard. Okay, so we pinched it. There we go. We're getting there. So that's not too hard. Okay, so that's partially the wear sleeve, but really you can see that's where the seal sits and what it rides on. So yeah, so that guy's out, so that's good. So this is the lip seal itself. It is soft. Well, not soft. It's easier to get up. Now we got to get the other seal out. And these are kind of pressed in there. So what I like to use, if I can, if I have room, is this guy. This is a seal puller. So what I'm going to do is slide it behind the seal. All right, we're in there. Okay, we're behind. So we're behind the seal. Back the camera up here. So we're hooked behind the seal, right? So we need to pull it out, and this is meant to get struck with a hammer. So basically we're going to try we got it. We have a bee here to watch us. Look at that. Okay, so we got the rear seal out. Not too hard. That was one of the easier ones, actually. Okay, so we're going to be doing the front one here. Now, you might be saying, Josh, this looks so much easier. The engine's out. Is this even possible with it in chassis on a truck if the radiator's installed? Yes, it is. I've done probably most of the main seal installs I've done have been in chassis. It is not easy. It's tough. You don't have much room in front. Trying to get the damper off, get it back on. It's a pain. I'm not going to lie. This is doable though. But obviously for filming, this is nicer. So if you notice, this side is different. It doesn't have the lipped wear sleeve you can grab with your big end snips or farrier pliers. This has a thin wear sleeve, and then it has the seal itself. Now, just like the other one, we're trying not to damage the sealing surface of the crank or the structure. So we're trying not to pry in here or anything. I've used self-tappers in the past, not real effective in my opinion. So what I try to do is we're going to try and get, using the same tool, this guy. And they do make smaller ones, but this is the one I got. We're going to try to get this in there and pull it out. Then we have to work on getting the wear sleeve out. If you're pulling the structure off, you don't have to do this. But if you're pulling with the housing off, you can hit it from the back with a chisel or an air hammer, and generally it comes right out. Now, saying that, the style we had in the rear with the cupped, lipped wear sleeve, that's going to inhibit you from sliding off. This style, you can slide the structure off with it still installed. The other style, you're going to want to pull the rear seal off before. So this appears to be the correct size drill bit, close to it for here. Now, you might be saying, well, Josh, aren't you going to push metal into the engine? And not really, because we are drilling on the outside of the engine and not be paying close attention to not drill into the engine, but basically the little metal bits are going to stay on the outside. Almost through. Almost there. crazy. So it's sliding. Kind of push that piece of metal into there instead of drilling through. That's a little irritating. Let me see if I can tap that through. Okay, they might be saying, oh, aren't you scoring the crank? No, because it's got a wear sleeve. So, okay, let's see if that's enough to get our deal in here. Almost. I think we got it. Okay, yeah, we're getting behind it. So, we're behind it. Let's see if we can pry this puppy out of there. Might just peel it out. Let's see what happens. Yep, that's what I was afraid of. Like I said, this side's a little harder. Now, I have used self-tappers. It's a varying success. I don't want to say that they're the end-all, be-all to this. Okay, folks, so we've moved on. I've drilled another hole here. Be careful not to hit anything. We are going to try to tap it out there. Should fit. There we go. Okay, so puppies. As you can see, we are behind there. Hopefully. Got it. So it should have gone the first time. Okay. There we go. Look at that. So yeah, you can see so it's a double lip seal. If you're looking at a wear seal. There's this outer seal is more of just a dust cover, and then the thick inner one is this guy, and that's basically what holds the oil in. Pretty simple, but they work really well. Unless they're leaking, then they don't. Okay, so that guy's out. So now you have to worry about the wear sleeve. Now, some guys, I've heard, have tried to remove wear sleeves when there's no wear sleeve in the engine, which means they're gouging the crank, which is bad, obviously. So what we're going to do is try to distort the wear sleeve here, or wear ring, and slide it out. Okay, now one thing, you can kind of see the crank gear back there with the retaining dowel. So this is our wear sleeve. It is basically pressed on there, not something you're going to be able to slide right off. And that's kind of the trick, is going to be getting it off now. So what you need to use, well, there's various ways to do it, but the cat tool, this is called a wear ring distorter. And if you see, it's kind of shaped sharp on one side and rounded on the other. And that's because what you do is you slide it in here and you roll it, and it'll slightly nick the wear sleeve to the point where it distorts it slightly. You're going to do that in a few spots, and usually it'll slide right off. Usually. Sometimes. Maybe. And some engines, like this one, you're going to have to use an adapter because it's pretty loose in there. Okay. Okay. And then generally you can roll it. Sometimes it's too tight, sometimes it's not. It depends. But what you do is you just kind of roll it like that. Our pistons are out, so we're actually rotating the crank just from the small amount of force there. Gonna roll it again. There we go. Roll it again. Yeah, and what it's doing, do you see that line right there in the wear sleeve? It's just distorting it slightly. And since it's so thin, a lot of times if you just distort it slightly, it'll come off. We're gonna have to roll it a few more times. Let's get a few more goes in there. I might be saying, well, Josh, isn't there an easier way? Not really. I've had them where you have to almost chisel this guy off, and it is not fun. Not fun at all. Okay. Well, we distorted it about 10 to 20 more times. And we finally got it to move here. You can see it's starting to slide off. Got the lip coming out here. They usually slide off a little easier. I don't know if my seal distorter is getting worn out or what, but I was able to get a little pick deal behind here. Man, usually they come out a little easier. I'll move there. Might need a new seal distorter, or sorry, wear ring distorter. Come on, come on. It's got a little lip there. You guys tried these Knipex pliers? I love these things. Let's see if we can get in here. If I can get on it with these, it's over. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, these would grab. You could squish a frickin' penny with these things. This will work it up. Work this puppy out. I think our little, I think this guy's in the way again. This guy out of the way again. So you might think, oh, Josh, you know how to do everything. Well, first off, I don't know how to do everything. Second off, some jobs are tough, even when you've done, this is not, believe it or not, folks, not my first front main seal that I've done. I know, you might be thinking, oh, first time for everything, Josh, but no. Okay, so we can grab it, so we should be good. Bet we can work our way around. Yeah, normally you distort it a couple times, and you can slide it off. Whoa. But this one is being a little tricky. It's coming though. Got the Knipex on there. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that, folks. This is, come on! This is almost laughable. Usually they come off pretty easy. This is crazy. I don't know what the heck's going on here. Why is it being so hard to pull off? Yeah, I'm not sure if I can get these big suckers on there. It's all over. Whoop. That camera doesn't annoy me. Oh, you fricker. Nope, it's not out far enough. Come on, buddy. Oh, come on. I think we can peel it this way, it'll come off. Oh, yeah. There we go. My God, this is garbage. Yeah, usually it slides off after you distort. I wonder if my distorter's getting a little out of whack here. Got it. Okay. Woo. Wear ring. So let's look. You see the lines? Yeah, it's getting pretty much the whole way across here. Some of them are a little shallow. I don't know, but it's off. So yeah, they're both off now. Neat. So folks, now time to install the new seal. Now I had removed the front structure, cleaned everything, and resealed it and put it back together. If you want to see that, that'll be in next week's video. But we got the new seal here, and you can see this is actually the lip style seal, similar to how the old one was in the rear. This is clockwise rotation, so that'll be going in the front. So what you want to do is, there's that greenish kind of sealant that they put on the seals. Not always green, but, and this is our installer. If you look closely, it says front on it. So the centering section's the same on both, but you want to make sure you're using the front for the front and the rear for the, I guess you'd call them the pushing plates. And these are Monaco, like I said earlier in the video. Made in the USA. I'll put a link in the description. They're not paying me, folks, but they make very nice tools. My counterbore cutter is also a Monaco one. But what you're going to do is you're going to put the centering plate here, and they give you the 3 bolts, and it doesn't really matter on the front where you put them. And these are 5/8 fine thread, I believe. But the front of the crank and the rear of the crank use the same pitch bolts. So yeah, use the centering section, this guy, on both of them. Do you need to lubricate these 3 Allen wrench bolts? I'd put a little bit of oil on the threads, but they are not actually going to be doing that much. So you would want to clean off all that green stuff off of the crank and off of the structure, though. I generally, emery cloth works really well, or Scotch-Brite pads. Generally do it by hand. These, you don't have to torque them to 10,000 foot-pounds. You're really just seating them. Yeah, like I said, you don't really have to tighten the heck out of them. There's no reason to. I would not use an impact for these. These bolts should last a really long time. And you notice they're Allens and they're hex. The reason for that is obviously the seal's going to slide over here. So if you used a normal hexagonal style bolt, the little sharp edges would stick out and cut the seal. So you need to make sure you're using this style bolt. Now you might notice there's an extra hole on this centering unit. Why would that be? Well, the rear of the crank, which you'll see later, has a dowel, an alignment dowel, because the damper doesn't actually have any sort of orientation. It doesn't matter where it goes, but the flywheel does. So we got our new seal here. It's one I showed you before. Miss Kitty! 2 cats in the current shot here, so helping out in all aspects of this job. And it's probably the nicest cat I've ever met. Anyway, so yeah, all you do is you slide the new seal over there. You don't have to have the engine pinned. There's no specific spot for these seals. And what you're going to do is I like to lubricate the threads and then also the face here. You could see right inside of the lettering there. That's because the large drive nut is going to sit and push against that center piece there. Also, you want to lubricate the threads of the all thread here too, because if you have dry threads, you can damage the threads, cause galling, seizing, and you don't want to do that. This is a nice tool. If you take care of it, it should last forever. Now, this is the nicest seal installer I've ever used. I've usually used the cat branded ones, but at the shop, they usually look like they've rolled around a service truck for about 10,000 years, and people have always used an impact wrench and a sledgehammer to put them on for some reason. So we're going to speed things up here. So could you use an impact? I've seen it done. If this is your tool, I would not recommend it. Just do it by hand. You don't want to damage or break the tool. If something happens, you want to be able to feel it. Now, it's kind of tricky because you can't see what's going on here, but what you're trying to do is get to the point where it stops. And it's kind of a hard deal, because what you do is you just go until you cannot go anymore. I don't know what the torque value would be, but what's going to happen is it's going to push that seal all the way up to the other one until it stops. If you're a little shy of the stopping point, it's not the end of the world, I would say. It would probably still seal fine. But what you want, and it's hard to measure by the depth on the housing, what you want is the seal on the crankshaft to be flush generally. So once we get this unit off of here, I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. So basically the inner part of the seal, the part of the seal that spins, you want that, or I guess it's really the wear sleeve on this guy, the cupped section that I'd remove with the large end snips on the rear. That needs to be basically flush with the crankshaft. The depth of the outer seal there, not as critical. I mean, obviously it needs to be in the right place, but that's what the seal installer is for, to put it in the right place. So when I'd sped this up, I think this is twice as fast as I did it, but basically, yeah. There you go. You can see the wear sleeve cup section is flush with the crank. That one is successfully installed there. So that's basically it for the front. Now the rear's the same procedure, but I'll go ahead and show you. There's usually some of that green retaining compound sealant stuff left over. I like to wipe that off. But so now we got the rear here. Same procedure, except if you look on the rear, there's a dowel there. And yeah, this one's blue, not green. But more importantly, it's counterclockwise rotation according to the arrow. So that's going to be your rear. So you're going to use the same centering section, except on this one you have to be careful to use it and position it so that that dowel right there at the 9 o'clock position is there, or you'll damage the tool or damage the dowel. I've actually seen where people have slammed the crankshafts on these and not had them aligned, and they run that dowel basically flat. And then when you go to pin the engine, it doesn't pin in the right place. You'll pin it and it's not at TDC. Yeah, don't do that. Be very careful. I'm sure it was someone probably doing a clutch and they just weren't careful. Not saying it's easy, but you got to know how to do things correctly. So same with the front ones. We're just going to run them down tight, not 5,000 foot-pounds, folks. Just basically seated and then a little nudge more. They just have to seat and hold that section. If you wanted to torque them, I'm sure you could, but really I don't see a reason to torque these. The bolts actually torque to on the flywheel and the damper to 200 foot-pounds when you're installing those, but there's really no reason to torque these to that amount. That one felt a little weird there, so you can see I took it back out, inspected it, put a little oil on there, which I had done already, but I don't know. There might have been something in the threads or something on the crank there. They look clean, but you never know, folks. Could have been anything. Maybe Miss Kitty's, some of her hair got stuffed in there. Hope not. That would be unfortunate, but she's a clean cat. So tighten these puppies up, and same procedure as the front. So you're going to slide the new seal. Make sure it's the correct one. Shows counterclockwise orientation for the rear. And one thing to be sure of, in a truck it's not as specific, but if you're in a machine application or in a industrial application like this, make sure you're using the correct rear seal. There are wet and dry housing rear seals, so the seal itself will be different. In fact, one of the few other C-18s I ever worked on was in a large Oshkosh fire truck for military base, and it had a C-18, but they had used the wrong rear main seal. It was a dry seal, but the housing was a wet housing. So I don't know the specifics differences of the two seals, but one is for dry housing, one is for a wet housing. This is a dry housing, although it looks wet, but that's because the old rear main, I believe, was leaking. So make sure you're doing the correct one. And like I said, on most truck applications, it's not going to matter, folks, but in an industrial application like this, you want to make sure you're using the correct one. Now, this is the exact same seal that came out, so not the same one, it's the same part number. So same procedure as on the front, and same thing, you just want to clean off all that old green or blue stuff off of the crank and off of the structure before you put the new seal in. If there's a little residual left, not the end of the world, it's going to push that into the engine though. Just try to get it as clean as possible. You're just going to go to it stops. This one was a lot easier than the front was, but for whatever reason, roll this puppy back and make sure it is seated the correct depth, and it's the same as the front. So the sealing, cupped, wear sleeve, whatever you want to call it, it should be flush with the face of the crankshaft. And you can see why I had put oil there. I believe the packaging says use anti-seize, or they actually call it never seize, but alrighty. So yeah, just getting ready to pull the drive unit off of here. This one actually got stuck. I actually took a little bit of the clip out of this one. Fighting this puppy, but sometimes they get stuck because it's a fairly tight fit between the centering section and the press section there. And I think that's why in a lot of the ones I've ever used, you see a lot of hammer marks because they get stuck, and people, whoever doesn't own the tool basically, will hit the drive unit with a metal hammer to free it. Of course, that makes sense, right? Hit the very expensive installs tool that's precision made with a metal hammer because it gets stuck. Best thing to do if it really does get stuck, put the nut back on there, run it back tight, it'll push it back in and center it, and then try to pull it back off. It can be difficult sometimes, but such is life. Now you don't want to put any sort of oil or anything on the drive unit here around where the seal would slide, because then you're going to get oil on the seal itself. Now, on the seal, it always says install dry. That means they don't want you to lubricate or put anything on the seal itself. Some of the CAT guidelines do say to put a quick cure primer on the sealing surfaces of the seal, so basically the housing and the crank, but I have done a lot of these and never used that stuff, so do what CAT says, but I'm just telling you my experience with it. We'll get a close-up here so you can see it, and then it's time for a little destruction of the week. So yeah, you can see it is flush right there. Now, folks, this is from Pavel, and it's a short video clip, and all I want to say is I think I laughed the hardest on this one that I have in a long time, so enjoy. Yes, folks, that is water coming out of the dipstick tube there. Apparently, the rain cap was open and one of the exhaust valves was open for a long time. Pretty good one. Thanks for sending it. And as always, thanks for watching.